Welcome to the Mick, a Mook, and a Mike.
Hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer
Frank Mace, and retired New York City firefighter, 9/11 first responder, and Vietnam vet, Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest.
Michael Jackson.
My brother.
My brother Frank. How you doing, pal? 4 years.
4 years. This is the 4th anniversary show. That's hard to believe.
Do I get a diploma at the end of this fucking thing or something? 4 years. I should get a degree or something.
No, you get to call fucking Paul Verzi and ask him to talk to fucking Bill Burr though about getting us on.
Well, he gets scared when you say that.
I know. He does.
I hate asking for favors, but
Yeah.
that's not a big favor. I mean, we've been doing him a favor.
Yeah,
Our show is good enough that we've been doing him a favor.
absolutely.
Without a doubt.
I agree. We've got fucking now 175, 180 shows.
Yeah,
That's
something
crazy.
like that.
That's crazy.
Not that many, but close.
But speaking of crazy, what'd you think of the debate Tuesday night?
Whew. I mean, what's crazy is not so much the debate, but the after falling of the debate where he just sits there with a straight face and says, I killed him in that debate. I won 92 to 8, 86, 84. I mean, with these fucking numbers, he sounds like an auctioneer. All you hear is 86, 84, 75. I won 91. One never got me an 80. I mean, he don't give a shit. I mean, he don't give a shit. I mean, the people are still believing this shit. It's astounding to me.
I'm looking forward to seeing the movie The Apprentice, which talks about his younger life. Did you hear about the movie?
Yeah, I heard they got a very graphic thing about him raping his wife. And
Yeah,
stuff.
but it's if you've seen the trailer for it, it's Roy Cohn, the guy from Succession, who's playing Roy Cohn, and Roy Cohn's just drilling him. He said, "More, exaggerate more, exaggerate more,
Wow.
exaggerate more. Always take the high road for you. Deny. Always."
Well, he was well coached.
Bigger and better.
We all know, for the audience who might not know who Roy Cohn was, he was the attorney for Joe McCarthy as well.
And who was Joe McCarthy?
Joe-
As long as we're going far
As a
back.
matter of fact, looking at Joe McCarthy, I'm getting that same vibe about Trump at this moment. I think, I was watching Bill Maher the other day, and Maher has always been the guy. He ain't dead yet. He ain't dead yet. I'm telling you right now, he'll be back. He'll be back. He ain't dead yet.
He ain't dead yet.
No, but Maher says, I think this time the bubble is burst.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it might have. I think you're starting to see the emperor's got no clothes. I mean, he's getting.
Well, you should have
See that 10 years ago, without a doubt.
20, 30, 40 years ago.
Without a doubt. I mean, but nevertheless, I mean, he's saying shit now like, if she gets elected, she's going to draft all your kids. They're all going into World War III, I mean, he don't give a fuck what he says. He'll say anything. Anyway, when did you first become black? I mean,
You gotta say that's hilarious.
And this is meeting black journalists. He's in a black journalist meeting. He says, well, I don't know. She was Indian. Now she's black. When did she become black? I mean, he's got to know he's running the worst campaign in the history of man. I mean,
and his confidant Laura Loomer said if she wins the White House, it's going to smell of curry.
oh yeah, Kamala Harris. Right.
Yeah.
Spell a curry, and any communication with the White House will have to go through a telenetwork in India. I mean, oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, really. I mean, he's as unhinged. And you know what's really cool? I mean, not cool, but astonishing, really. I mean, before the debate, everybody said, Donald, they told him, stay on the issues. Stay on the issues. Don't get hurt. Stay on the issues. And of course, Kamala, every talk show host, everybody knew she's going to try and bait him. She's going to try and bait him. Will he take the bait? Will he take the bait? And, for the first 10 minutes or so of the debate, I was saying, well, there's no knockout punches here. It's like two boxers feeling each other out in the ring. But the difference with a pro boxer is when you go to a fight and you see a pro fighter get hurt, like a guy hits a great left shot, left hook in a pro boxer, they don't come back like this, like an amateur, where you just start swinging wild. They hang on. They pick their spots because they're pros. They don't lose their cool. This guy, in 90 seconds it took, which was amazing. I mean, he went from like, when she baited him, it was a question about immigration, which is he's going to supposed to hit it out in the park. He's been dying to talk about it all night. He's talked about it all night, even though they didn't ask him about it. And then they asked him a question on immigration, which is a softball to him. And first they ask her, and she gives a take on immigration. Then she baits him with and I encourage you to go to one of his rallies. Right?
and see the crowd size.
And see him, because he's boring. And when he said boring, you look at his eyes, and it went like from the sleep you looked over. I mean, it looked like somebody.
Did you get that on camera?
You look like a cattle prod, right?
Okay, let me do that look again.
No, but he was. He was like,
Never forget that camera.
Take a look at it in slow motion. It's amazing. It lights up like he just eyes like it looks like somebody stuck a cattle prod up his ass. He just lit up. And then the moderator goes back to him and says, your take on immigration. Before we get to immigration, let me just address the crowd, right? And he starts talking about the crowd size. He's got the biggest crowds. He's got this. Then he goes, I'm going to segue into World War III. If she gets elected, it's going to be World War III. And in 90 seconds, he went from that response, they're eating dogs, and screaming it. I mean, I was astonished. You remember when listening Fort Clay?
Right.
And everybody.
Unfortunately, I do.
Yeah. But in the first fight, everybody looked at Liston like, he was impossible to beat. I mean, he was knocking guys out in the first round. Nobody could fight Liston. But in the seventh round, when he started to bleed, it was like Liston took his mask off, and it was an old man underneath the mask. And I swear to God, I got that same impression watching Trump the other night. I think the bubble has burst. I think he's becoming like Fat Elvis. People are saying enough is enough. They've seen the act. I mean, it's how many fucking times are you going to be told that your country stinks? Your country stinks. It's Armageddon. It's a third world country. It's a shithole country.
50% of the country believes that.
I think 44% does, so 43%, and it ain't going over that. He's not getting any. Listen, he ain't winning no pushing doubling down on his dogs and duck shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you look at the map of the United States, it's almost all red.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's almost all red.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah.
I mean, I happen to believe he's an asshole of the greatest.
As do I.
But, 45% believe, or 43% or 40% of the country. And some very, very, very smart people.
I know.
That I know are Trumpers.
Me too. I know an awful lot of smart people. One guy told me, a really bright guy, well, this is hardly a degree of intelligence, but coming from the Bronx, he went to Bronx High School of Science when he was a kid. He went to big, and he's a Trumper. And I said to him, he says, Biden's too old. I said, Biden might be old. I said, but let me tell you something. They could roll Biden's head out in a jar, and I would vote for him before I'd vote for Trump. Yeah. And I said, because his character. I said, the guy's got the character of Caligula. I mean, what are you kidding me? A character defines your destiny.
Well, I found, there's two things that bother me. Number one is that the Democrats were hiding Biden.
Without a doubt.
And they are explicit in their deception.
Yep.
They probably knew a year or so or 2 years ago how he was. And the fact that they even let him run again is, what's at the basis of that cover-up? Because they knew
that he wasn't
capable of running. That's one question. And the second question, well, go ahead.
No, but that's so valid. That's a valid point. And the thing is,
who knew and when did they know? Because, you look at the pictures of 4 years ago, he was still a viable political figure. Biden was
without
a viable, but at what point did he stop being viable? And at what point did they say,
we got to cover it up?
We got to cover it up. And who has been running the country in his absence?
Well, let's just say, and again, that's completely valid. I mean, obviously, he doesn't have the capabilities to be president for another 4 years. And I was talking to Derek before about decline in age. When do you decline the most? When do you change the most? I said, I bet you it's between birth, 4 years between birth and 4 years old, and from 85, 4 years more to your death. What would Biden look like 4 years from now? That's the question.
No
what
question.
is Trump going to look like 4 years from now?
Yeah, well, that's starting to come into vision.
Without a doubt.
Because he's no longer the young guy in the campaign. He's now the 78-year-old man.
Yeah, but look at the shit that comes out of his mouth. I mean, this has been going on for how long? I remember what he was talking about. and he's got the seal look. Whenever his hands start going like this, he's way out of it.
Did you see Obama go like this when
that
he
was
talking about size?
I don't know. He's got this.
Derek's pretty quiet over there. He's not.
Oh, you guys are doing a great job.
But anyway, so he does the thing with it, and he starts telling a story. And when I first got elected, they came to me, sir. Sir. Of course, when they start with the sir,
you know it's
bullshit.
up.
You know it's bullshit. Sir, General came to me and says, we have no ammunition. Can you imagine a general in the United States Army going to the President of the United States and say, sir, we have no ammunition? This is, the United States, Pentagon. On the other day, there was nobody. You know what? The head of the Taliban, Abdul. I went to see Abdul. He's starting to look like a bad stand-up like an assisted living facility. It looks like an open mic in an assisted living facility. The shit he's saying is unbelievable.
And, in spite of all of his mistakes, the biggest mistake was not following up on Kamala with fucking immigration. And what have they done for the last 3.5 years? Well, she could have came back and said, what did you do for 4 years before that? And, he would have lied and made it sound better, but
you triggered him.
He lost all of his opportunities.
Without a doubt. And you know what? There was something she could have done when I thought that she was probably the best debate I've ever seen. As far as an out-and-out flattening of somebody. But some of the things, like when he was getting off about the dogs eating dogs and they're stealing ducks, she could have just said, which really would have been, bless his heart. That would have been like the final thing. Like,
she did it. She did it by just laughing.
Laughing. She put their hands like this and started laughing and let him hang himself. But he talks in superlatives, which is one of the symptoms of
Roy Cohnism.
Yeah. I had psychological, sociopathical.
And narcissist. Classic narcissist.
Exactly. It's the best. It's the worst. Biden was the worst. He's the best. We had the greatest. Biden had the worst.
My crowds are bigger than ever.
Yeah, of course. Always the best and the worst.
I'm the best since Lincoln.
And I've seen him say shit like, nobody knows more about windmills than I do.
He said,
how the fuck do you know anything about windmills? Have you ever crossed the book and said, windmills, let me see how these things work. This looks very interesting. I got to know more about this. Nobody. And it's either nobody knows more or I don't know anything about that. What about Laura Loomer? I don't know anything about her. I know she's important.
2025 project.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about that. I've never seen it. I don't know anything about it. Or nobody knows more about it than me. Nobody knows more about the war than me. Nobody knows more about the generals than I do. Nobody. He's a master of superlatives. He's nuts. The fucking guy is nuts. It's scary.
But he had a new wig on.
He had a nice looking wig on. I tell you, I like that rug. That was a good looking rug compared to the usual cinnamon roll. The cinnamon roll he wraps around it. And that's another thing. Here's a fucking guy. It takes him longer to get prepared to go on stage than Kamala Harris. Twice as long. Mm-hmm. They got to spray paint them. They got to put the nest on. They got to put his shoulder pads in. They got the long tie. He's got the 2-inch lifts. If they took all the shit off of him and left him alone, the president would be sitting in a chair. All the shit be on a chair.
Did you see that commercial that's on TV? I may look like a mortgage banker, but I'm not. And then he takes off the wig and he takes off the clothes, and he ends up he's a fucking android, and then he crumbles to the ground.
There's a theory. Short class I had in political science when I was in school 7 or 8 years ago, 9 years or whatever the fuck I was in school in Florida. One of the things they talked about.
How old are you now?
I'm 76.
Okay. What year did you graduate?
I don't know. 10 years ago. Let's say 10 years ago.
Let's say 15.
Okay. So it was 15 years ago. And they talked about this thing called the prospect theory of foreign policy. Basically what it means is a country's more likely to go to war when you take something from them rather than to go out and get new territory, which makes absolute sense. When you take away a woman's right to deal with her body, they are going to come out like in, numbers that they haven't talked about it, but some of the numbers that the registration is like insane. I think 300% were women under 30 have
Well, that was probably due to Taylor Swift's endorsement.
They said 50,000 the first day she sent out the link.
50,000 more.
It was 280 million she has access to, but 50,000 registered as soon as she sent out the link.
Within the first hour.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up to now 400,000
400,000.
have registered.
And when she said when Biden dropped out, there was an increase of 45,000 in the registration, which will show you the impact of Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Well, Elon Musk said he would impregnate her.
Yeah, and then Travis Kelce said he twisted him into a fucking pretzel.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
I'm a football. I don't know if you know me, but I'm a football. I'll twist you into a fucking pretzel. I mean, look.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
That's good.
So he said, I'll twist you into a fucking pretzel. And I kind of believe him. But here's the deal. And Harris, I think, she's running an absolutely brilliant campaign. I mean, you got to say she's running a marvelous campaign. Just from a political point of view, where she says, like, turn the page. Same old shit. We're tired of the racism. We're tired of the divisiveness. We're tired of this. We're tired of that. I'm a naturalized citizen of this country. I came to this country, and it's the only country, even though I was born on an island, that I would die for, is this country right here. And I really mean that to this day. I would die for this country. I wouldn't die for Ireland. I'd die for this country. You want to call me a socialist? All right, I got Social Security. I got a pension. I'm on Medicare. Call me a socialist. You want to call me a communist? All right. I guess I got socialism. I mean, but I can't be a socialist, a communist, and a fascist at the same time.
And a Marxist.
I can't be, but I can't be a fascist and a socialist. That's like calling me black and calling me white at the same time. I can't be. It's impossible.
What if you're half and half? Just check.
Yeah. Well, when did I first become white? I got to check. But you know what I'm saying? I think that he's going to get his ass handed to him. And what he's doing now, with all this shit with the polls, I was watching a pundit the other day. It might have been Ari Melcher, one of them guys on CNBC. And they were talking about how Republicans pay not just Luntz, but other guys to go out there and take polls and have positive polls. They pay them a certain amount of money. And they said, what's the advantage of paying millions of dollars to get guys to put out phony polls? Well, there's a couple of advantages. One is that people will gravitate more to somebody they think is going to win.
Right.
And they'll give money. So it's a good fundraising thing. But the other thing is for plausible deniability. If he can turn around and say, I was 7 points ahead in the polls and now I lost the election, they stole the election, and that's plausible deniability. You know what I mean? And more bullshit,
Well,
because
Luntz said that he lost.
Yes, he said he lost the debate.
I mean, I don't want to disparage Frank Luntz, but he's a big fat tub of shit.
Yeah, I don't want to disparage him, but he is a big fat tub of shit.
And he got that bad fucking wig.
Yeah.
I casually know him.
Yeah.
And he's a big fat.
Yeah, but the guy was.
Let me finish my thought.
I'm sorry.
Tub of shit. Okay.
Tub of shit. He's the king of doublespeak. He's also the king of. Don't frame it as global warming. Frame it as climate crisis. Don't frame it as civilians that died in death. We'll call it collateral damage. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So he's the king of doublespeak, and he knows how to make it work. But I just don't see how people don't think that. I think the ball game's over with this guy. I think he's starting to look like Fat Elvis. And let's say he loses, and I think he's going to lose because her machine right now, her groundwork game is she's got people on the ground everywhere, knocking on doors and pushing. And for him to say the other day that I won the debate, I mean, really.
For him to say his crowd size was bigger than Obama's, that started it all.
Yeah, exactly. And that was when he first got in.
I know. First
fucking thing out was a lie. And just like say it enough times, and the lie becomes the truth. Say it enough times, the lie becomes the truth. But I think the act is getting old, man. I think Kamala Harris is right. People are fed up and it's a fucking division. She had a great line there. I know she had it in her pocket, and she was going to pull it out when she needed it. But when she said, "When somebody come to my office in trouble, I didn't ask if they're Republican or Democrat. I said, are you okay?" That was a great line. It was a delivered strong. But I mean, I thought and the healthcare plan. Jesus Christ, 9 years now he's been trying to kill Obamacare. I got a great healthcare plan right here. I got it right here. When we get in, we're gonna have
Yeah, 9 years.
9 years.
He's been promising it.
Yeah.
What's he got? He's got concepts.
I
Got concepts of a plan.
What is your plan? I have a concept.
Concepts.
Yeah, get rid of 450,000 people, throw them off healthcare because you got a concept. I mean, the guy's an empty suit. You know, and I used to say this a year ago. I would say, I think he's a fucking idiot. I think he's an idiot. I think he's a moron. I think he's an idiot.
He's not a moron.
Yeah, but you know what?
He's probably one of the most brilliant men that have ever walked.
I don't think that at all. I think that's dead wrong.
Well,
I think
how do you get fucking 73 million people to line up and vote for you?
I think he's
amongst so many. I mean, this is, to me, this is like one of the quintessential points amongst so many other things. Like it's hard to walk around the world as a blundering idiot but still be relevant for
that many years.
I mean, I'm talking like super relevant for what 5 decades?
5 decades.
But he is a master of PR. I mean, I give him that. He's a terrific
Yeah, but you
PR
can't be
guy.
you can't be an idiot.
If you're a master of PR.
You can be good at one thing.
Well,
I mean, he's good at one
Not
thing. But
as an
how do you
idiot.
turn around and say to an audience of thinking, reasonable men, I'm very smart. My uncle went to MIT. I mean, what the fuck does that mean?
Well,
And he's been saying that over and over and over again. I'm smart. My uncle went to MIT.
I think some of it has to do with, and maybe Frank can attest to this too. Like when you're dealing with people that have made lots of money, have done deals over many years, it's at the end of the day, it becomes less about like this sort of like nuance and communication. It's more about like I'm the biggest and the best guy in the room, and I'm going to squash you in this negotiation, and it becomes less kind of like this complex, nuanced language game. So, and I think he's done it so often that he doesn't even dabble in the complexity of language. You know what I mean?
I think there's more to it than that. When you walk into a room knowing the result, no matter what the result will be,
Yes.
that gives you a distinct advantage.
Yes.
So no matter what happens, I won the debate.
Yeah.
And they all play that game, is my point. All of those guys, those high-level guys, they all play that same kind of game.
But they don't talk about crowd sizes.
No, they
All right.
don't. But I mean, but you could make the equivocation to anything. Like, like let's say I develop the best properties, or I make the best movies, or same sort of idea. So,
well, when you're talking superlatives, you got to get burnt. I mean, like he says, everybody wanted abortion to come back to the States. Everybody. Well, of course, not everybody wanted it back, but when you're talking superlatives like that, that's the way he talks. I mean, he doesn't allow any room for any. Everything is the best, the worst. I give you one thing that really blew my mind, and I don't know if you guys read this. I forget where I read it. It might have been in The Week. The Week that has that magazine about this. Anyway, it's a very veritable
I
magazine.
read everything. Whatever I see, I read it.
And what they said was, it was a mayor. He's either in Maryland or he was in.
Yeah, probably Hogan.
I'm not sure. It was in Maryland.
Probably Larry Hogan.
What happened was he got busted for taking a bribe, right?
It wasn't Larry Hogan.
Construction bribe. I think it was Maryland, but it might have been
It's
Maine.
irrelevant.
Could have been Maine.
It's
Anyway,
irrelevant.
the guy got busted for taking a bribe, right? What happened was it was a construction company. They got a $2 million contract from the city, and they gave him a $40,000 payoff for giving him the contract. So he got time. He got like 6 years in jail. They busted him. He went to jail. The Supreme Court, in their last incredible verdict, besides coming down with the bump stocks being allowed back onto automatic weapons, they said that they have to let this guy out of jail. And the reason being is it wasn't a bribe, because the $40,000 was taken after the fact, so it was a gratuity and not a bribe. Right? That was the premise. And they let him out of jail. They said because he didn't pay the money up front, it's not really a bribe, it's a gratuity, it's a tip.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why all this bullshit with no tax on tips. It has nothing to do with the fucking workers in Las Vegas. If they can pass a law, no tax on tips, when you bribe officials, they don't have to pay tax on it. It's a gratuity. It's a fucking red herring. It's bullshit.
Well, she wants it too.
Yeah, because she's got to win Nevada.
Yeah.
And, we all know she's got to win Pennsylvania. Now she's into fracking. I mean, I'm not saying she didn't lie, but when you talk about him screaming it was 3 against 1, of course, of course.
He set it up
Before he went in.
Right.
Of course, it's 3 against 1. He told 35 lies. They called him on 3 of them. And they were the most egregious ones. That they're going to kill babies after they're born, that they're eating dogs and the Haitians are eating dogs and stealing geese. The most egregious ones they called him on.
Right.
The other 32, they let it go. Her, they didn't call her on any. But according to CNN, she had one lie. And the lie was that she didn't really get handed the worst economy in the last 50 years. It's the second worst economy in the last 50 years. But compared to his lies, I mean,
well, again, she wasn't asked how long did you know about your boss?
Yeah,
and
that's true.
How did you cover it up?
That's true.
And that was
and that's egregious. But again,
but she didn't have to answer it. She didn't answer. She didn't answer it because she wasn't asked the question. How long did you know about your boss?
She dodged the very first question.
Yes,
she dodged all the questions.
Well, she may have.
She dodged. She did a pretty good job at tightrope. And listen.
I mean,
they all dodged all the questions. They both did. So.
Well, that's politicians.
And they're supposed to.
Are you better off? Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? She didn't answer the question. No. She should have said, well, in some places we are, some places
exactly
we're not. And if you're one of the 44% of the people in the stock market has gone from 19,000 when he left office to 43,000. Right now, so all of those people would say they're better off now.
Exactly. She could have went to
the rest of the people. We still have some work to do.
Exactly. She could have went to the people that benefit from her tenure, whatever. And another thing, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Derek.
I was just going to say, I wonder why they didn't do that. The only thing I could think is maybe there's no way he was going to give a smart response to that. So the fact that they didn't choose to give that answer is odd.
Well, that was talking about her. That should have been her answer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm wondering why they didn't choose to do that, to give that answer.
There was lack of a follow-up question.
Okay.
When she didn't answer the question, I said to Karen, now comes the follow-up question. Please answer the question.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't follow up.
They didn't follow up on that. No, they didn't. But
and Trump answered it, we have the worst immigration ever in the world. that's where we came out of the box with.
Yeah, but let me start with the crowd size. Then he went right to the crowd size. But his eyes, and you got to see that replay. It's worth looking in to the replay. As soon as she said that you're boring, you just went like, it was like somebody counterprodded.
So do you think there'll be another debate? Even though he says no,
I think they're going
to. Derek, do you think there'll be another debate?
I think so.
He said no. He's absolutely sure of it. So that probably means yes.
Yes, yeah. I think, and I think.
I mean, he has to have another debate, or else he probably will lose.
Well, let me make the analogy of a heavyweight fighter,
which was great.
When a heavyweight fighter wins the fight, loses a fight.
Yeah, why would I want another one? Yeah. But I mean, I think the polls are going to widen a little bit more. She's up. General idea right now, she's up 5 nationally.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any difference. I don't give a fuck about nationally. I give a fuck about six swing states.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the 6 swing states that made everything. But she's up 5 nationally. Not only is she up 5 nationally, but she went to Nevada the other day. The place was mobbed. He went there the other day, spoke in front of 3,000 people. I mean, I think the act is getting old. Man.
Yeah, but then you see the video where she walks into a group of firefighters and it's quiet, and then he walks into the same group a half an hour later, and there's massive hysteria, cheering. So
I mean, there's a lot of firefighter and cops. I'll tell you right now, especially in New York.
But I think, so knowing the fact that the media is owned by a very small group of people, do you think that your point of view is being swayed? Number one, your point of view by
the media.
Correct. Okay.
Sure.
Think about that a second. And the other thing is, you think that the Republicans are the only people that pay for polls?
No,
of course not.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. But
that's why the polls have been so wrong.
Yeah.
In the last 2 presidential elections.
Well, that's another interesting point. Everybody says, since he won the first election against Hillary, that he overperforms. Actually, he doesn't overperform. He underperforms from the polls. And if anything,
Exactly.
the big red wave that was supposed to be coming, if anything, showed that.
You're saying he underperforms after?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, like they talk about the polls, but he underperforms traditionally outside of the Hillary debacle. You know, I mean, other than that, yeah, he underperforms.
Yeah, well, she never should have called his supporters deplorables.
But he can say any fucking thing he wants. He
I
can
know
call
that.
vermin. Call me vermin.
Well, you are.
You see, Frank, that's the kind of shit. But vermin, yeah. I mean, how the fuck do you call people that don't vote for you vermin? That's right out of Hitler. I mean, that's fucking vermin. I mean, get the fuck out. I don't agree with you. I tell you, I just.
This guy is ramped.
Oh, I can't stand this motherfucker. I hope he blows up. Swear to God. And you know what? The Arabs have a great, and I wouldn't wish this on anybody. But him, I would wish it on. I hope he outlives his children. That's a fucking horrible
Dude,
thing
I'm
to say
not.
to anybody.
I'm not leaving that in. That's
I'm telling you
ridiculous.
right now.
Leave it in.
I'm telling you right now.
What?
I hope he
That's
outlives his fucking children. And that's a horrible thing to say to anybody.
It sure is.
Well, you know, since he can grow an ear so fast.
See?
What?
Go ahead.
What do you say? See, he fucking grew it.
No.
The entire ear was
Listen.
all back within a week.
So this is why you asked me in the beginning, like, how come I didn't participate? That has something to do with it. Because Billy asked me the same question. And I said, I just, after the ear thing, I just wanted to throw it all away. Like, it's like pointless because the guy shows up with, he has a bloody ear and the whole big old, like, assassination day and then the week of assassination. And then the week later, he shows up with the bandage on his ear, this, ridiculous, like, box on his ear. And then after that, he exposes the ear and there's nothing, like, there's no damage whatsoever. And they're talking, like, the headlines are he gets shot in the face, but there's.
Well,
So what's the explanation? Like
in the debate, he mentioned putting a bullet in my head.
Oh, yeah. I got to get a bullet in my head. Yeah.
My head.
So what? I mean, no, but just in the grand scheme of things, and I guess everybody would want to blame it on him, but why is nobody asking that question? Like,
Well, according to a senator who's doing investigation, everybody will be amazed when the results of the investigation come out. That's all he said at Democratic Center.
Oh, this looks like an
Oh,
October
okay.
surprise. What are we thinking?
Who knows?
Who's the senator that's doing the investigation? Republican or Democrat?
Democrat.
And say we're going to be amazed when it comes out?
Yeah. Now he might be talking about Secret Service
Incompetence?
but
Okay.
still.
Okay.
I mean,
What?
Evander Holyfield never grew another ear.
No. And he never got in the ring with Mike Tyson again either. I don't blame him.
Yes, he did.
Oh, he did? They refought? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let me ask you a question. What do you guys think about the assassination attempt? I personally think it was on the level. I think that it was just some
Of course,
psychopath.
a man
tried to kill him.
died.
Yeah, right.
Of course, it was on the level.
Yeah. I was just saying that a lot of people, the conspiracists, the same people that say Kamala had something in her ear because,
Earrings.
she had her earrings because she had the questions in advance. Yeah, I mean, what's the odds that she thought they were going to ask her questions about the economy, about immigration? What's the odds? That
Yeah, that's
she
just
figured
lame.
those questions might come up, like her
Yeah.
former position on fracking? No, nobody would figure that she had to be prepped for that. I mean, so he's pushing that. But the same people that push theories like that, from the other side, from my side, say, well, it was a put-up job. This guy, attempted assassination would look good. And I said, that's bullshit.
Yeah,
It
because
can't be.
a man
Okay.
died.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
2 men died.
2 men died.
Yeah.
And his wife had the audacity not to want to speak to the president of the United States when she called him to express her sympathies, his sympathies.
Oh, she wouldn't talk to Biden.
She wouldn't talk to Biden.
Interesting. Because, another thing,
she
he
said
has suggested,
her husband would have not liked it.
and just to show you, we talked about,
And those are the people that worry me.
yeah, they should worry you. And they worry me too. But look at, you talked about Hillary. She lost the election with the one word incorrigible, right? This guy was saying 2 days ago, when he was in Phoenix, all right, I took a bullet in the head. We still don't know who's behind it. Maybe somebody should talk to Barack Hussein Obama. I mean, he's implying that Obama tried to have him killed. I mean, that kind of shit. I mean, it's one thing to say you're incorrigible, but nothing gets out alive for this guy. Like, he can say any fucking thing he wants. And, this guy I told you about that I had the argument, very bright guy. I don't care about his character, he told me. I don't care about his character. So I like his policies. I said, so you don't care about his character? I said, everybody from Marcus Aurelius to Plato has said character determines your destiny, but you don't care about it. No, I like his policy. So if he opened up his locker or he opened up his office and he had body parts in there because he was chewing on them for the last 6 months, you wouldn't give a fuck that he was a cannibal because you like his policies. Where do you draw that line? If Putin's got pictures of him finger banging his daughter, you don't care because you like his policies. Where do you draw the line which you don't care about his character?
That's what I say to those people. I mean, one fella I noticed who supports Trump is a brilliant guy. He makes a lot of fucking money in his business. I asked him, why do you vote for him? He said, because Biden's killing our economy. I have to move my factory out of the country in order to be able to maintain jobs. And,
because of regulations or taxes?
Both. So, I mean, he's definitely in the 1%.
Yeah.
But still. And, what about this guy, Vance? Peter Thiel, he's never gotten a job on his own. He's been the chattel of a venture capitalist named Peter Thiel.
Yeah. Who's a
bad guy.
Bad guy.
What do I know about Thiel? Tell me, fill me, enlighten me about Thiel.
Great speaker. Hard to really.
Venture capitalist.
He started.
I've seen him tall, thin, right?
Yeah, he's one of the first investors in Facebook. He started. They started PayPal. He started PayPal with Elon Musk. They all made a bunch of money there. He basically was a guy who never really had a job. I think he was a lobbyist. No, he was an assistant to a lawyer or something like that, and then figured that wasn't the job for him. Anyway, became a venture capitalist, started PayPal, then was the number 2 or number 3 investor in Facebook, multiple billionaire.
Donated $15 million to J.D. Vance's senatorial campaign, winning the campaign for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most outstanding thing that's worrisome about Peter Thiel is he's a major investor in this upstart called Palantir, and basically all of these guys are, just before I go into Palantir, all of these guys are what they call like welfare billionaires. All of them, the whole group of them, the whole lot. In fact, you probably could look at the majority of the billionaires and say a lot of them are like that. But essentially what's happening is they create these companies and then they get subsidies from the government to pay for the company and to pay for the sort of like the startup of the company. And the majority of the revenue comes from that. And so our taxpayer dollars are paying for their companies. And I don't think that's like entrepreneurship. I think that's basically a level of, what do you call it?
Socialism.
Yeah, well, sure.
It is socialism.
Exactly.
And you know what?
Which is why I say it's we're in a fascist society.
What's the name of that company? Palantir?
Yeah.
That's the company that does artificial intelligence. They can zero in on exactly, like if they want you taken out, they can take you out in India and just hit you and nobody else. I mean, they can just push a button and you disappear.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't.
They had him on Bill Maher this week. Have you seen Bill Maher this week?
No.
The guy who I'm not sure it was Peter Thiel. It didn't look like him. The guy I think of was Peter Thiel. He's like tall, thin, like a Jimmy Stewart type looking guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go on Bill Maher.
Well, this guy.
No, he's been on the circuit lately.
This guy's got like a hair. Like
No. Peter Thiel's he's like a German guy.
Well, this guy's This guy was German, I think. Yeah, he was. But he started Palantir.
He doesn't have. He's very clean cut German. In fact, he's what's the word these days?
Goose step German.
He's a gay guy, so he's very clean cut.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this guy was on Bar, and I was listening to him. I said, "This guy's a genius. I mean, crazy genius."
Yeah, he listened to Elon Musk. He's a fucking genius too.
Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, but this guy wasn't saying he was a genius. Like Trump says he's a genius. His uncle went to MIT. He's smart. I mean, but when somebody keeps walking around saying, I'm no idiot, after a while, he might not be an idiot, but he's going to have his suspicions. If you're smart, you don't have to keep calling yourself, I'm no idiot.
No, Peter Thiel's a brilliant guy.
Yeah, this guy was definitely brilliant. The guy was on Mars.
By the way, it was subtle, but you remember how Kamala threw out Wharton Business School, and all of the Nobel Prize laureates at Wharton said that his policies would lead to the ruination of society, or whatever he said.
Oh, yeah.
He says, I went to Wharton. That was her hook. That was her point.
Yeah.
It was that he said, I went to Wharton, and I know some very, very smart men that says mine is the best.
Yeah, the best. Of course, it's always the best. And you know what? Inflation. That's their big thing. Inflation in the border. But what I've read, and maybe I'm reading the wrong circles, I'm definitely reading bias. I mean, and speaking of bias, you talked about the news before. Am I influenced by bias? Of course I am. Everybody is. As a matter of fact, there's no such thing as information, I'd argue, that's not bias.
Yeah.
All information is bias. If you get up as a producer and you get up in front of the people that work for you and you make a 5-minute speech, that's a biased speech.
Right.
You think it's important, but
but it's worse than bias. But
you also, I don't know about you, but I also have a tendency to read what I agree with.
Yeah.
So
we all do.
If I see a guy
I don't.
the guy from the New York Times, what the hell's his name? The pollster. Well, he works for Peter Thiel also.
Right.
And so how can I take whatever he says for granted as truth?
That's exactly the truth.
The guy from Detroit, what's his name? I can't remember his name. I'll think of it.
But yeah, it'll hit you. But I'm thinking the same way you do. Like, all information is biased. If somebody thinks it's important, that makes it bias in their minds, right? So do I read biased news? Absolutely. And again, what they call that is positive. What do they call it?
Confirmation bias.
Yeah, it's affirmation journalism.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's what they call it in journalism. Affirmation journalism. People want to read what they agree with.
Yeah.
And if it's not what they agree with, it's a cognitive dissonance, and they say, well, this is bullshit.
I'll still read it, but I will have discounted partially before I read what it says.
Exactly. The first thing you should do, the very first thing when you read any article, is see who wrote it and what's his background and what's the point of him writing. Why did he write the article? What's in it for him? Why did he write it? What's he trying to convince you of, right?
You think that's the best way?
I think you should really look at what's the source of this article. Is it a credible source? And what's his purpose of writing this article?
I would. Don't you think you should do that after?
No, I think I should do it before I waste my time reading the fucking article. Because suppose I read the article, it's written by some guy who's a blogger on.
What's wrong with bloggers?
Nothing's wrong with bloggers, but
hey, you know.
Let me tell you what I think is wrong with journalism in that respect. Whereas the places like the Washington Post, the New York Times, all those big Wall Street Journal, they don't have the staffs they used to have, right? Because the newspaper business is going bankrupt. Nobody reads newspapers anymore. They can get it all online, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the problem with that. The problem is when you got an institution like the New York Times or the Washington Post or the Wall Street Journal, they can afford, if there's a war, to send a foreign correspondents over there to cover the war. They can afford to put an office in Iraq or in Afghanistan. They can find out what the hell's really going on. Vietnam is a prime example. Otherwise, you're subjected to what the government says is going on.
Well, okay, go ahead.
So
my thoughts on this would be that I would say the in today's world, the aggregate is the mean. Or trust the aggregate, trust the populace, which now, because of the internet and podcast age, that is even more sufficiently less bias than in the aggregate. Though you have to think about it, because there are so many points of views. It's your choice to choose a side and listen to only that side, but you have the option now to be able to listen to multiple points of views and then determine what's right. Whereas before, you did not have these options. And so I think it's better. And if you look at what's happening now in terms of like free speech, there is a huge push to eliminate and sort of tamp down free speech because people are exposing truths that you could never get to before. And you being from your generation, sir, you sort of have this idea about the button-down places where they have the ties and the button-down shirts and, you know, they do things formally, those are the only people that are able to distribute the truth because they have money and stuff like that. But I don't, just based on my experience, particularly in the last 4 years, I think that is not accurate.
Well, you know what? There's a certain amount of validity in what you're saying. People could see different points of view. The difference is with the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, they're subject to lawsuits. They can't put out complete garbage. They can't say that like Kamala Harris wants to kill babies after 9 months.
That's a good point.
They
However,
can't say it. They have editors. The editor reads the fucking thing and says, "Okay, take that out. See that name there? That's misspelled. That whole fucking thing."
Did they get sued for Vietnam?
Well, actually, they exposed a lot of what's going on. It was David Halberstam was sent over there by the Times.
Yeah.
He was the guy who wrote The Best and the Brightest.
What about originally though? Like, what about when?
Well, everybody bought into what they thought was the war initially, right? I mean,
are they still around? Those companies that bought into
Well,
it?
what about
well, that's a good point. What companies, I mean,
what about the Republican bullshit in 2000 when 9/11 blew up?
Yeah,
They didn't have arms. They didn't have nuclear weapons in Iraq, Iran.
and they all pushed that narrative.
oh yeah, without a doubt, that whole administration was pushing the fact that he has nuclear.
No, but it's not
weapons.
the administration we're talking about particularly. Sure, that they're liable as well.
They. Had a
But
lot
we're
to do
talking
with
about the fact that we're talking about the major respected news organizations were just as responsible as the government.
But they will say, they'll give attribution. They'll say, according to Vice President Cheney, and then they'll make the story.
Well, they
Or
say
according to
Yeah,
George
that's
W. Bush, and they'll make the story.
according to unnamed sources who refuse to be
Exactly.
identified because
Right.
I mean,
That happens.
I mean, the leakers are legion. The White House leakers are legendary.
Right, that's true, and without a doubt. But when you go on the internet, like you go to Facebook or whatever, or Instagram, whatever these things are, any of the shit that goes on out there, I don't know anything about it. But if you go on there, and you can say anything at all, nobody's editing you.
Right.
Yeah,
You
but do you know who's editing you? This is the thing that people don't realize. You know who's editing you is you don't want me to go do this?
No, why not? Go do it. What are you doing? Why not?
You know who's editing you is the public. The public is editing you, and they're editing you in real time, and you can choose to follow some crackpot, in the basement that's spewing ridiculousness every day. But if you go down and you read the comments of that crackpot, there are going to be in the comments you can read people saying you're fucking out of your mind, like this
And
is
then
ridiculous.
The other people say,
Yeah, and last week you told me to buy snake oil. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
right, exactly.
so
Snake oil was a good buy at one time. I think it was like 1870.
Tulips. So I'm in on a tulip market. I'm going for that. You know what? We should all get together, put some money in, and open up a thesaurus.
Well,
Thesauruses.
For me, the fact that everybody from both Cheneys to Mitt Romney to Taylor Swift are endorsing Kamala. I mean, can you get more Republican than the Cheneys and Mitt Romney? And can you get more Democratic than Taylor Swift?
How's this grab you? Dick Cheney endorses Kamala Harris. RFK Jr. endorses Trump.
okay, guys. So listen.
That's pretty weird.
But RFK also says he says Trump lost the debate.
Well, he's right.
I know.
Anybody who saw it.
They got to have somebody with a slight bit of verbal credibility.
Oh, they had quite a few members of Fox also. I mean, that's why Trump said no to those two anchors that they wanted to do the next debate. He said, no, but I'll take Hannity
and Laura Ingraham.
and Laura Ingraham.
Or the other guy. The other guy's a real piece of.
So you take the Cheney's endorsement of Kamala as something of merit?
No.
No.
I think they should,
Okay.
Kamala should turn around and say, go fuck yourself. I don't want your endorsement.
Yeah.
You're an asshole.
Okay. Just checking.
I just take it as a put down of Trump, a further put down of Trump.
I take it as I take it as like the establishment recognizing that they need to do something in order to prevent him from actually becoming president. And, Billy was saying something earlier about me being a Trumper, and I'm not a Trumper at all.
Who are you going to vote for?
I'm actually not going to vote for either one of them. Yeah. So
That doesn't do any good.
it does.
It does in California.
I mean, it does do it does do good, because eventually, at some point, people like us will be recognized when people start, because there are more and more people. If you look at the percentages, more and more people tend to do what I'm doing, and eventually, it will make a statement.
That's well, to
Maybe
me,
not in your lifetime.
Listen, here's the thing.
You're right, and not in your lifetime.
No, I disagree. So here's something that
Really?
people don't know. Just going back to like conspiracies. So Eric Weinstein started a Twitter page for a third party group. I could forget the name of it. It was like the Freedom Party or something, and they were getting something like 1 million subscribers a day. That number could be off, but it was something really significant. And this was during the previous election. And Twitter, I think he did it on Twitter and also on Facebook. Twitter and Facebook both cited that particular account as let's just say fraudulent, but they made up a bunch of reasons why. And it didn't happen to be fraudulent. They just were actually getting some kind of momentum where they were about to get enough people in order to make it a legitimate third party. So remember the thing I told you guys a while ago about the back door into Facebook and Twitter? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We talked about it in the podcast, that the government was given a back door to both of those social media platforms. So have you heard that was true?
No, I haven't. Really,
Why not? Why do you think you haven't heard that?
Because they don't want me to know, obviously.
Yeah, but it was true, and what they were doing they were suppressing many things.
Cite your sources.
You can go to
Cite your sources.
You can actually go to any article now, because Zuckerberg just apologized for making a decision to be swayed by the government officials. I'm sure it's in the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, and all the other reputable papers. But the point is that did happen. You haven't heard about it. You probably haven't heard about it either. But it is a actual thing that happened. And the fact that the U.S. government is allowed to, F around with something so significant as a backdoor in Facebook and Twitter, I think is like, we're living in a time that you cannot believe that our government would be allowed to do something like that and us not know about it.
Don't you think after 9/11 they took advantage of that situation?
Yeah,
to eliminate a lot of our personal freedoms.
Yeah.
I mean, do either one of you think, or am I just out of my mind, that they can listen to me anytime they want and do?
Now they can.
I believe that.
Oh, I think so, for sure.
I believe that.
No, that's what Snowden.
Sometimes I think something, and the next thing I know, I got shows up an ad for that shows up on Facebook.
It's fucking ridiculous.
He said, I think something.
I think of something.
My friend Blinky told me 10 years ago, he's whacked on coke. He's sitting at home, he's whacked on coke,
That's
and Blinky
hilarious.
says to me, "I'm telling you something. I think the television is talking to me." And I said, "Let me tell you something." I said, "Take a couple of downs, go to bed. You need to get off this shit. You're fucking losing your mind." I was with Jenny, sitting on the couch, watching a movie. My phone goes beep, beep. I look over, it's nothing. Beep, nothing. Beep. Couple of more beeps. I looked at it. After about 10 times.
It was a prostitute.
No, fuck you. I would have answered. Come on, Jenny.
He doesn't do that
In the old days. So after about 10 times of me ignoring it, finally I get a text from my wife, who's sitting next to me, who's not texting me. And the thing says, "Message from Jenny O'Connor." Because to make me pick the fucking phone up and look at what the text is.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like astonished. I said, "This is fucking, you're sitting next to me. You didn't text me anything."
Yeah.
They couldn't get your attention one way, they're going to get it another. So, I mean, yeah, I think they're listening to us. I think everybody's listening.
Well, no, it's not about thinking. That's
What's going on?
Yeah, it's happening.
I know that Kamala Harris must love me, because every day I got 2 or 3 texts from Kamala Harris.
I got 20 or 30 a day from her. Did you send
Do
her
you really?
anybody?
No.
I sent her money.
Oh.
That was the worst
God.
thing I did. I sent her, not a lot. I sent her $100. But I mean, I get 30 texts a day.
Wow.
I'd rather give it to you to gamble.
I get that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. And the thing that really pisses me off about Trump, and this is the biggest fucking thing of all, I'm no brilliant student of history, but I do read, and I have read. I know who wrote the Constitution. I know the 5 preambles guaranteed by the First Amendment. I know the preamble to the Constitution, which is more than Trump knows. Why in the world does my vote not count? Like, if I vote for Harris, he's telling me, I don't give a fuck. Your vote don't count. I won anyway. Go fuck yourself. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. So he's disavowing the votes of 84 million people. Go fuck yourself. I'm not accepting your votes. That's the biggest, most egregious thing. I know more about the fucking government than he does. I know more about windmills than anybody.
Kamala says he was fired by 84 million people.
Exactly right. And he can't get it through his skull that he's not wanted. But I think her ground game is going to be, the thing is, white. And here's another thing I believe. This is me and only me. And I haven't seen this written anyplace. And I don't know why, because I think it's valid. I think 20% of his supporters from 10 years ago are dead.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I've never heard that one.
Well,
before.
don't you think so?
I mean, that's a freaking good point.
This is 10 years later.
Yeah. And how many of Taylor Swift's 17-year-olds will be 18 by November 3rd?
Exactly.
Well, I think. Wow, that's a good point, Billy. There's this phrase. I think they use it in the industry. I know Howard Stern has a segment on his show called "Jump the Shark," where if something had gone past its climax.
Fonzie jumps the shark.
Fat Elvis.
Oh, is that that's
That's
right?
how it came from.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
I think he may have jumped the shark, like particularly just with his fan base, but also just in his methods.
Well, I think also that when Biden got out, he was always on top because you couldn't tell how far he had diminished because Biden had diminished so much more.
Exactly.
True.
Now that it's Kamala,
Yeah.
it's a whole different
Well,
story.
you said that a couple episodes ago. You said to me, and very valid, you said Biden's an old 81-year-old. He's a young 78-year-old.
Yeah.
But he's still 78. I'm 76, and I know I can't do things I did when I was 70.
Well, he can.
Huh?
He can.
He's the best.
He's the best.
Nobody knows more about being in shape than he does. He's got I love the seal hands. That's my favorite. When he starts doing his shit, you know he's full of shit. He's out there reaching.
So how long do you think the count will go on? After the election. So let's say the election is on a Tuesday. Well, we know it's on a Tuesday. How soon will we have a decision?
That's a good point. I would say within a week, but I think it ain't going to be within a day or so. I think there's going to be.
Within a week would be fine.
I think it's going to be.
I think it'll probably go beyond that.
The reason I say it's going to be within a week and not beyond that is because
To the
Republicans do not control the executive office at the moment. He doesn't have the clout he did before when he pulled that shit. I don't think he can pull it. Maybe in Georgia, they might refuse to validate the election.
But he's. Why is he running?
To stay out of fucking jail.
Correct.
Without a doubt.
Correct.
And the thirst of power. This man's a fucking power man. I mean,
Correct. But one is to stay out of jail.
without a doubt.
I mean, that'll be the happiest day in America, the day he gets trotted off to jail, which will never happen, by the way.
No, because, and I've been saying this for years too, I'm not against the death penalty per se. But however,
No, you want his kids to die.
no, I'd rather have his kids die. Yeah. With him, yeah, I know that's a terrible thing to say. I mean, it's absolutely terrible, and I know how horrible it is to say because I have kids and I have grandkids, and it's a horrible, horrible thing to say. But for him, I wish it
Oh my God.
because I tell you, I wish it because he's
Okay.
divided this fucking country beyond belief, and not
Stop
just
it.
along matters of a race, along matters of every fucking thing. I can't be a Marxist and a fascist. I can't. I can't be both. I mean, I can be one, I can be the other, but I can't be both. And it annoys me that my vote don't count. And Republicans are going to take their ball and go. The first thing you learned when you played ball when you were a kid, you lose the game, you shake hands, you go home, you get ready for another game.
Not me. Not me.
You shake hands, you wait for another day.
Yeah.
This fucking guy, it's like the kid, the 4-year-old said, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. I can't play. Fuck you. Nobody's playing. This is what the guy is. He's like a fucking child. He's a petulant child. I fucking can't stand this prick.
I fucking can't stand this prick.
I can't stand this prick.
Well,
So you can put that quote me.
Billy, one thing's for sure. I don't know if you're a pretty spirited guy. I've never seen you quite this motivated.
And you're not even foaming at the mouth. Usually you foam at the corners.
I'm trying to watch that. I got shots and everything.
So Frank was talking about mortality a while ago. Because you think we've done enough on the debate?
I think we've done enough on this podcast.
On this show?
Yeah, but we can go on if you want. I got a whole bunch of subjects that I never even gotten to, but this podcast, could go on for 2.5 hours.
Well, okay. Anyway,
we can save mortality for another day because, all we'll have on that is, if we do 2 more months from now, it'll be 2 less months to live.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's get this in. Because you just never know what's going to happen.
I'd rather get Ohtani versus Frankie Lindor MVP, and so I can put it in the headline. The boys talk about the debates, plus a spirited debate on who's the MVP of the National League, Ohtani or Frankie Lindor. What do you think?
I wouldn't know. Either one of them I tripped over it. That's how little I'm paying attention to baseball.
You don't know who Ohtani is?
I know who he is. I know about him. I know he's like a superstar pitcher.
I appreciate that, Billy. Yeah.
No, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's like the number 1 guy in baseball now, right?
Maybe ever.
Yeah. Well, does it all, right? He's like pitches, hits, throws, runs.
Steals, yeah.
Steals, does it all. Yeah, but I don't watch a lot of baseball anymore. I just don't.
It's just not. It doesn't do it for you.
I'm too busy writing.
You're too busy writing and coming up with other people's jokes. Oh my God! What do you do?
What do I do?
Well, this was my question. But so at this particular stage, you wake up in the morning. What do you motivate? Don't tell me grandkids. I know that's probably your motivation. Some of it. But okay, so let's just say that that's the number 1 motivation, and your family. What do you motivate? What motivates you to get out of bed and get fucking revved up and go?
I've been as motivated ever since I've been 8 years old. As long as I can remember, I wake up and I'm motivated. I can't put my finger on what motivates me, but I've been motivated ever since I was a little kid. I never wish. Well, sometimes now I wish I could stay in bed a little bit longer, but other than that, I gotta get out. I'm going to be 75 years old, and I look at the people around me, and I'm saying, "Holy fuck!" I'm 40 years older than most of them, but
and they're not motivated. You mean?
I don't know about them, but I'm not talking about me. What the fuck? I feel it just like I'm equal to them in everything I do. So as long as they can have me.
Well, you do got a fucking amazing work ethic. I'll say that for you. You don't stop. You're always pushing. But
Billy, what the fuck, Frank? What?
I don't think anybody's ever died. So the only thing I regret is I didn't spend more time at the office.
No, I agree.
But what floats your boat is the question. I'm 76 now.
I know what floats your boat. Water floats your boat.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't get excited about shit that used to excite me.
Yeah, that's my point.
It just doesn't. If you told me you were going to take me to a World Series game, I'd go, thanks, Frank. I'll appreciate it. Let's see if Derek wants to go. I don't.
If I could say you could be on our writing staff.
Oh, that would motivate. Yeah.
You should be on a writing staff, by the way.
He should be on a writing staff as a punch-up guy.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
That's my strong suit too, is editing.
Do not limit this fella.
No, editing is my strong suit. Really, I love to edit.
Yeah.
So I love to edit.
If you had a full-time job or a part-time job as an editor or a comedy consultant 3 days a week, wouldn't you want to do that every day?
Yes, I would. I would love to do that.
Okay, so the what's happened is your career choices led you down a different road. Mm-hmm. But I firmly believe that the best actor that's ever acted, we've never seen. The best writer that's ever written, we've never seen. The best singer that's ever sang, we've never heard. Because they didn't get a break.
valid. How many times have you been in Vegas and go see a lounge act and say, how can this guy not be famous? How can he not be a star?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super talented. I mean, like,
See it all over the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
People that you say they got it, they're unbelievable talent.
They either didn't get a break or they self-destructed along the way,
Yes.
or they quit before their break happened.
Yeah. And that a lot of that is the
But-
idea. Never
but-
stop. Never stop.
But you didn't do any of those things. Your career path just led you in a different direction.
Yeah.
You mean the career path in drugs and alcohol? Or
No,
Well, you know what?
I'm
Firefighter.
just fucking with
Bad decisions make great stories. You got to make a lot of bad decisions first before you can write anything.
Yeah.
I mean, Hemingway said, "God help the writer that never want to go there." You know, I mean, you need bad things, not bad things to happen, but things have to happen.
And you've got plenty of books in you that you've never written.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure I do. No, I do. But I mean, it's a lot of work to write a book, as you well know.
I do know.
You do know. And you're not motivated by money, obviously, to write the book. You want to you just
He's
like
like,
to produce things.
wait a
which
minute.
is-
Let's not go that far.
well, he does. He
Oh,
produces.
well, we've made a lot of money on our 3 books and on this podcast.
Yeah, but I mean, money would be a motivator, of course, but
Well, call Bill Burr. Call Paul Verzi,
call Verzi and see if I can get on All Things Comedy.
or say, who can you turn me on? Who can you turn Frank on to that he can talk to about
All
getting us
Things Comedy. That's a good way to phrase it.
all things comedy
Well,
on the network?
I was on All Things Comedy,
Jesus.
on Verzi's podcast.
Yeah.
And I got to say, I had a really good podcast. I mean, the other 3 guys were all 3 comics from the Comedy Store, Ryan Sickler and a couple other guys, and
No doubt, for
they
sure.
just shut the fuck up and let me talk. They just
Yeah.
let me go. They said, "This guy's fucking. Where'd you get this guy from?" Because I wasn't doing comedy. in the comedy.
CPV, my friend. CPV. Call Paul Verzi.
It's tough.
Get him a T-shirt.
He's tough. CPV. All right. So what do you want to do? You want to pack this in? You think we've done enough damage, or
How long have we done? We've done an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I
have
think,
we been talking for an hour and 20 minutes?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a while.
Jesus, you're a fascinating character. Time just flew by there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So our guest next week will be next week, or the next one after this will be Gary Anthony Williams,
Gary Anthony Williams.
a fine actor, comedian, a hoot. I think you like him.
I would
Well-
imagine that dude's going to be funny.
He will. He's Flaubert on Night Court, but all
Flaubert.
of that's to come.
Now wait a second. Is it Flaubert or Flaubert? Flaubert was a great writer in the film.
I know, but
So Flaubert deliberately.
Wendy Malick's character calls him Flaubert,
Flaubert. Okay.
but his name is Flaubert, Judge Flaubert.
But she does call him Flaubert.
She does call him Flaubert.
Mhm.
All right.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, with that, we'll take all the other topics that I had for the table out of the one. As long as we got Otani in there, Billy doesn't even
Billy went
know.
off on a rant
Billy-
on Trump.
Billy doesn't even know who he is. Frankie Lindor, Billy doesn't know who he is.
I hate to give you an informed opinion, but I'm not informed.
But hopefully we sucked in a few people, baseball people, when I put it in the put it in the headline.
Put down Billy and Frank interview Elvis. Put the fucking thing up. I mean, if Trump can say anything, we can say anything. Billy and Frank interview Elvis.
What do you mean? We interviewed Santa Claus.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
did.
We did have Santa Claus on.
We did have Bad Santa. He drew almost 6,000 viewers.
Bad Santa.
Bad Santa. We may have to have Bad Easter Bunny back. well, isn't there a Bad Bunny? Isn't he a?
Bad Bunny's a rapper,
Oh,
right?
wow.
Yeah.
See, I'm hip.
I'll ask after the show.
What? Ask it now.
I was just wondering. Oh, look at this. I was just wondering if you are up on trends because the writing and the shows have to sort of like talk about trends on a regular basis.
I'm not up on trends.
No, you are. You
I'm
know
not,
Bad.
I'm not up on trends.
You know who Bad Bunny is. I could go across the country and ask, how old are you going to be?
75.
So I could ask a million 75-year-olds if they know who Bad Bunny is, and probably only 100 would know.
Well, I keep track of music a little bit because Sabrina Carpenter is now the hottest thing in music. She's probably second only to Taylor.
Okay, so
She's got-
pause. And why do you know that?
Because I produced her show for 3 fucking years on a Disney Channel.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Just like I produced Zendaya's show 3 years before that. So
Man, he knows how to pick them. Before you know it, Billy.
He's got an eye.
Before you know it, this thing's gonna take off.
well, it may take.
I told him the fucking day he met me. I said, he says, let me see if I can turn chicken shit into chicken salad. He said to me, I said, good fucking luck. I just, no fucking hope.
CPV.
Call first person. Yes, sir. Yes, Admiral.
All right, we're out of here.
All right, Commodore, you got it.
You got it.
You
Bye.
got it. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for looking in.
See ya.